no more. Somewhere glory, Jesus knows. Glory, glory, the story with the redeemed of all the ages. Praise the one who my door. When I wake up, sleep no more. It's the morning I've gone from the smell of tears. I'm going to live again. I'm going on a trip. When I say goodbye, I'll live again. Over on the other side, I'll live again. On the golden strand, I'll sing and shout with the mighty angel band. You'll see me rise above the starry skies. I'll live again over on the other side. I've imagined over there there'll be beauty rare. I'm going to live again. When they lay me in the grave, don't you weep for me. I'll live again over on the other side.
I'll live again on the golden strand. I'll sing and shout with the mighty angel band. You'll see me rise above the starry skies.
I'll live again
over on the other side. I'll live again on the golden strand. I'll sing and shout with the mighty angel band. You'll see me rise above the starry skies.
I'll live again over on the other side. I'll live again over on the other side. Amen.
All right, good evening, everybody. Good evening. Boy, I do like some bluegrass every now and then. I hope y'all enjoyed that. Bluegrass makes me really happy. Let's see, that was the Far City Boys at the Taylorsville Baptist Camp meeting back in 2010. I did want to mention, a lot of these songs are from Caden or Camden Baptist Church and yada yada other Baptist Church. I'm not affiliated with any denomination, if anybody was wondering out there. But I picked these songs. Some churches I've actually visited before. I've been to the Taylorsville Baptist Camp meeting before, but just lift me spiritually. Some of the doctrine I've learned is not on cue, which y'all may have already heard me talk about some things that isn't the traditional teaching in your Baptist churches today, but it is truth nevertheless. A lot of churches today don't understand right division, and that the Apostle Paul is in fact our apostle today and our example of Christianism today, and is the only apostle whose gospel is different than the 12 and Jesus. A lot of things that are different from Romans through Philemon and what we're taught in those books than the Gospels, and is also different from Hebrews to Revelation. I hope y'all already understand the previous lessons that I had. Another thing I wanted to mention, today's verses we're going to go through is even banned in some churches, some government places or whatever. It's a very disputed part of the doctrine in the book of Romans, but we have to go through it nevertheless. I've told you in one of our last meetings, nobody on this earth is sinless. It doesn't make sin any less of a sin. The sins that I get tempted to do, and sometimes I don't, sometimes I fail and do. I mean, I don't go without killing anybody, but sin is sin nevertheless. So some of these scriptures, it might step on some toes out there, but I'm no more perfect than anybody else, and neither y'all. So let's just get through these scriptures. I'm not a very good speaker, so what I have here is a commentary by David Guzik, which I respect him highly. Not as much as Michael McDaniels, because I'm a very big, well, I don't want to say fan, I don't want to take him on a pedestal, but I appreciate the knowledge that Michael McDaniels has a little bit more than the knowledge that David Guzik has. Not to put anybody down, but that's just my preference, and I'm sure y'all have y'all's preferences on who y'all don't listen to. With that said, but I'm going to read from his commentaries. If y'all get mad at anybody, get mad at David Guzik and not me. And I'll just leave that there. Let's see, I think I said everything I wanted to say. Alright, first of all, if you remember, well, let me read first to get us caught up to where we left off. Alright, so Brandon, you're already on Romans 1. I'm going to go ahead and read this first, and then we'll take it from there. So Romans 1, Paul, a servant of Jesus Christ, called to be an apostle, separated unto the gospel of God. Now remember some of the things I pointed out as we read through this, and I'm hoping y'all can get a better understanding, including myself. I mean, I learn more every time I read it. Verse 2, which he had promised afore by his prophets in the Holy Scriptures, concerning his Son Jesus Christ, our Lord, which was made of the seed of David according to the flesh. Now remember, I pointed out which he had promised afore by his prophets. This is referring to Jesus Christ and his ministry. He's going to be doing miraculous things. Who will be born with lineage, where, doing miraculous things. He'll be crucified and resurrected and all this kind of things. It's pertaining to his Son, not the doctrine that was revealed to Paul. That was never spoken of from the beginning. Nobody knew it. The disciples of Jesus Christ didn't talk about any of the doctrine that was given to Paul. This is simply talking about which he had promised afore by his prophets in the Holy Scriptures concerning his Son, Jesus Christ, not the mystery. Okay, I just wanted to point that out once again, make sure y'all got it in your thinking. Alright, now on to verse 4. And declared to be the Son of God with power, according to the Spirit of holiness, by the resurrection from the dead. I mean, that's proof that he was in fact divine. When we looked at Christ in his own power, brought himself up. Okay? That is proof of his divinity. By whom we have received grace and apostleship for obedience to the faith among all nations for his name. Among whom are ye also the called of Jesus Christ, to all that be in Rome, beloved of God, called to be saints, grace to you and peace from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. First, I thank my God through Jesus Christ for you all, that your faith is spoken of throughout the whole world. For God is my witness, whom I serve with my spirit in the gospel of his Son, that without ceasing I make mention of you always in my prayers. I wish I was a prayer warrior like Paul. I mean, I do my prayers, but Paul was a man of prayer and with power. Just wanted to throw that out there. It makes me want to be more like Paul. He is our example. Making requests, if by any means now at length I might have a prosperous journey by the will of God to come unto you, for I long to see you, that I may impart unto you some spiritual gift, to the end ye may be established. This is where we get the book of Romans is the book that you need to start with, because this is where you get established in the faith. That is, that I may be comforted together with you by the mutual faith both of you and me. Now I would not have you ignorant, brethren, that often oftentimes I purposed to come unto you, but was let hitherto. Yeah, a lot of issues arose up in Jerusalem, if you remember me mentioning that. That I might have some fruit among you also, even as among other Gentiles. I am a debtor both to the Greeks and to the barbarians, both to the wise and to the unwise. So as much as in me is, I am ready to preach the gospel to you that are at Rome also. For I am not ashamed of the gospel of Christ, for it is the power of God unto salvation to everyone that believeth and is baptized. It didn't say that, did it? I gotcha. It is the power of God unto salvation to everyone that believeth, to the Jew first, and also to the Greek. For therein is the righteousness of God revealed from faith to faith, as it is written, the just shall live by faith. For the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men who hold the truth in unrighteousness. This is letting all of us know, even today, that God is going to judge sin. Remember, ungodliness is our sin against God, and unrighteousness is our sin against other men or women. Yeah. Because that which may be known of God is manifest in them, for God hath showed it unto them. For the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. Okay. We'll go to Deuteronomy 4, but hold on, scroll up a little more. See where I'm the other way. Okay, alright, let me read a few more. Because that when they knew God, they glorified him not as God, neither were thankful, but became vain in their imaginations, and their foolish heart was darkened. Now this is talking about a specific group of people. Okay, we're getting ready to look at that. I'm not saying it's not still true today, but Paul is writing about a specific group of people, and we'll look at that in just a minute. Neither were thankful, but became vain in their imaginations, and their foolish heart was darkened. Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools. Okay, go to Deuteronomy 4. We looked at this last week. So he's talking about a specific group of people. There, themselves, they. I mean, very clear. Deuteronomy 4. And you'll find it here. Go on down. When we looked at this last week. All right. What about that? All right. Go down. Okay, right there. I'm not going to read the whole chapter here. You can do that in your own time, but I'm going to pull out a specific few phrases here so you can do the comparison to what we'll look at. Lest ye corrupt yourselves and make you a graven image, the similitude of any figure, the likeness of male or female, the likeness of any beast that is in the earth, the likeness of any winged fowl that flieth in the air, the likeness of anything that creepeth on the ground, the likeness of any fish that is in the waters beneath the earth. And lest thou lift up thine eyes into heaven, and when thou seest the sun and the moon and the stars, even all the hosts of heaven, shouldest be driven to worship them and serve them, which the Lord thy God hath divided unto all nations under the whole heaven. All right, now go back to Romans. Y'all, I hope y'all paying attention here. Y'all watch this. Okay, that's where we were. Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools, and changed the glory of the uncorruptible God into an image made like the corruptible man, and to birds, and four-footed beasts, and creeping things. Wherefore God also gave them up to uncleanness through the lust of their own hearts, to dishonor their own bodies between themselves, who changed the truth of God into a lie, and worship and serve the creature more than the Creator, who is blessed forever. Amen. Remember the sun, the moon, the stars, host heaven. Paul put a name to that, and he called it the creature. So for this cause, when they started serving the creature, the sun, the moon, the stars, all that stuff, for that cause, worshiping the sun and all those things, God gave them up unto vile affections. You see? For even, not only did they worship the sun and all those things up there, Even their women did change the natural use into that which is against nature. Okay, so that sin just it just keeps going and going. I don't know how to explain it. It's like I hate this word, cancer, but sin is just like that. You start dabbling in simple things, you get more simple and more simple and more simple, until you just wallow in a sin-filled life. Okay, we all struggle with some petty sins. I mean, I wish it were possible that we could achieve in this flesh a sinless state, but I don't think that is. Because even the way we think, we have simple thoughts. They just pop up out of nowhere. Because we're constantly seeing in this world, I mean, I don't even have to tell y'all know. We're surrounded by it. Simple things and thoughts and words go in our ears, simple things and images go in our eyes. You can't get away from it. You turn on the radio, you're going to hear something that isn't good. Turn on the TV, you're going to see something that is not good. We're surrounded by it, guys. We can't get away from it. But once you start giving over to sin, it just grows in your heart, darkens your heart, hardens your heart, and it just gets worse and worse like a cancer. Okay, and that's what's happening to these folks here. Okay, and moving on, who changed the truth of God into a lie and worship and serve the creature up here, sun worship and all that kind of business, more than the Creator, who is blessed forever. Amen. For this cause, God gave them up into vile affections. Even their women did change the natural use into that which is against nature, and likewise also the men, leaving the natural use of the woman, burned in their lust one toward another, men with men, working that which is unseemly, and receiving in themselves that recompense of their error which was meet, or you could say which was due. And even as they did not like to retain God in their knowledge, God gave them over to a reprobate mind to do those things which are not convenient. Being filled with all unrighteousness. And here's a list. We can all find ourselves having done many things here. And I'm going to go through that list in a little while to give you, because you might not know what this word maliciousness means, or malignity. You might not know what those are meaning. We'll go through those. Being filled with all unrighteousness, fornication, wickedness, covetousness, maliciousness, full of envy, murder, debate, deceit, malignity, whisperers, backbiters, haters of God, despiteful, proud, boasters, inventors of evil things, disobedient to parents. So even if you think you've done none of the other stuff, even if you're disobedient to your parents while you're growing up, you have made it on this list. Without understanding, covenant. Oh my gosh, covenant. Boy, that sounds stupid. Breakers. Covenant breakers. Sorry, had a brain fart there. Without natural affection, implacable, unmerciful, who knowing the judgment of God, that they which commit such things are worthy of death. So even the disobedient to parents are worthy of death. Point that one out because it surprises a lot of people that would be on that list amongst the murderers and all these other backbiters, all these other things there. You got disobedient parents. Commit such things and whether does not only do the same but have pleasure in them that do them. And I think that finishes that chapter. Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now we'll try to break that down a little bit. Okay. So. Remember, initially Paul was pointing out that group of people, okay, in that time, but it doesn't make it any less true today. Okay, now we're not under a law today, so if a kid is disobedient, under law, they could have the death penalty. That's not going to happen today, thank goodness. But still, it is not right. Okay, so just want to throw it out there. What I'm about to read now is actually a commentary by David Guzik. I respect him highly. So I'm going to just read what he's got here. Okay. So professing to be wise, they became fools. Our rejection of God's general revelation does not make us smarter or better. Instead, it makes mankind futile in their thoughts, and makes our foolish hearts darkened, and we become fools. In the scriptures there it says, the fool believeth in his heart there is no God. It says that multiple times in the scriptures. The fact is, once a man rejects the truth of God and Jesus, he will fall for anything foolish and trust far more feeble and fanciful systems than what he rejects from God. We all trust something. I'm trusting this chair to keep me from falling on the floor. But if you're not trusting in God, there are many other things that you're trusting in for many other things. This kind of thinking darkens the heart, and folly must be seen as one example of God's righteous wrath against those who reject what he has revealed. Part of his judgment against us is allowing us to suffer the damage of our sinful courses. Okay. I want to stop there. I want to say no one is getting punished for sin today by God, but sin will I don't know the right word.
Sinning on credit.
Huh?
Sinning on credit.
Well, yeah, we're sinning on credit. Absolutely, we'll learn that too. But sin, like say, if you're, I don't want to be too disgusting. Some people have sex with animals. Okay. Basically, what he's saying here, you're going to get what you deserve, because if you're having intercourse with animals, you're going to get a disease. That disease is not given to that person by the hands of God. Okay. If you're a drunkard, you know, and you're drinking crazy amounts of alcohol every day, you can wind up dying of liver poisoning or something. Okay, that is not the hand of God giving that man that liver poisoning or whatever. It's your sin, your alcoholism. When you're drinking a whole thing of alcohol every day, what do you think is going to happen? The drinking in itself is not the sin, but drunkenness is. Okay. Give me another example. If you were smoking anything that defiled the temple of the Lord, I guess smoking would probably be a simple thing. Anything that's harmful to you, I think you can label as a sin. So if you're smoking 3 packs of cigarettes a day, you know, you may get lung cancer, and it ain't God that's giving you the lung cancer, it's your sin. Okay? So that's basically what is going on here. Let's see. Here. All right. Therefore, God also gave them up. In his righteous wrath and judgment, God gives man up to their sin of their evil heart's desire, allowing us to experience the self-destructive nature of sin, like I was just going over. This phrase is so important, Paul repeats it 3 times in this passage. We make a mistake when we think that it is God's mercy or kindness that allows man to continue in sin. It is actually his wrath that allows us to go on in destroying ourselves with our sin. Okay? It's very interesting. As a Christian man, we should be studying the Word of God, rightly divided, studying it, understanding it, believing it, allowing the words on the page from God to change our hearts, which in essence changes our thinking, which reflects in our daily walk. Okay, that's what's supposed to be happening here and now. We exchange the truth of God for a lie. In every rebellion and disobedience against God, we exchange the truth of God for a lie of our own choosing and set the creature before the Creator, or creature of some sort. Catholics, they're the Mother Mary and all that other kind of stuff. Paul uses the definite article. Oops. No, that's not it. For this reason, God gave them up to vile affections. Paul wrote this from the city of Corinth, where every sort of sexual immorality and ritualistic prostitution was practiced freely. The terminology of Romans 1:24, which one was that? Wherefore God also gave them up to the lust of their own hearts. Okay. Refers to this combination of sexual immorality and idolatrous worship. not getting this in order. For even their women exchange the natural use. Paul uses homosexuality both in the female and the male expressions as an example of God giving mankind over to uncleanness and lust. Some say that the Bible nowhere condemns homosexuality, but likewise in Romans 1:27 makes it clear that the sin of homosexuality is condemned in Romans 1:27. It's connected to the sin of women mentioned in Romans 1:26. Paul doesn't even use the normal words for men and women here. He used the words for male and female, using categories that describe sexuality outside of human terms, because the type of sexual sin here is outside of human dignity. It's not my writing, but it'll lay where it lays. Paul categorizes the whole section under the idea vile affections. Unhealthy, unholy. Nevertheless, Paul lived in a culture that openly approved of homosexuality. Paul didn't write this to a culture that agreed with him. Paul wrote to a culture where homosexuality was accepted as a part of life for both men and women for some 200 years. The men who ruled the Roman Empire openly practiced this, often with young children. At times, the Roman Empire specifically taxed approved homosexual prostitution and gave boy prostitutes a legal holiday. Legal marriage between same-gender couples were recognized, and even some of the emperors married other men. At the very time Paul wrote, Nero was emperor. He took a boy named Sporus and had him castrated, then married him with a full ceremony. Brought him to the palace with a great procession and made the boy his wife. Later, Nero lived with another man, and Nero was the wife. In modern culture, homosexual practice reflects the abandonment of giving them up to uncleanness and the lust of their own hearts to dishonor their bodies among themselves. Like I said, it's a harsh passage, but I did not write the Bible. Let's see. Receiving in themselves the penalty of their error, which was meet. Paul speaks of a penalty for homosexual conduct. Homosexuality was within itself a penalty. This speaks of the general self-destructive nature of sin. It often carries within itself its own penalty. That's what I was talking about just a minute ago. God is not punishing sin today. And I'm going to have to show you that before. Let me see. You're actually sitting on credit. Hold on. Let me go ahead and point that out. Let's see. I know it's in Romans chapter 2. Oh my gosh. Hold on. I totally forgot. Let me go to Romans 2. Let's see. There's several scriptures actually that talks about that. Oh no, hold on. I'm doing this wrong. Okay. Okay, Romans 2:5. All right. But after thy hardness and impenitent heart treasurest, that word right there, treasurest up unto thyself wrath against the day of wrath. That's judgment day. And revelation of the righteous judgment of God. So those that are unbelievers today, they're treasuring up wrath. They're not getting punished today. They will come judgment day if they don't come to believe in Jesus Christ and His work for their sin. So they're basically sitting on credit. Another one. Let's see. That's in Corinthians. Give me just a second. That's in Corinthians. imputed. Can't remember, imputed. Okay. 2 Corinthians 5:19. Sorry about that. I just wanted to show y'all this so y'all don't think I'm crazy. 2 Corinthians 5:19. Talking about that sin will be punished later, okay, at judgment. So we're not under law. So how can we get punished for breaking the law? I mean, we're not under law and grace. It's one or the other. There was law. Now the law is done away with. We're in grace. It cannot be both. All right. That's like I think I mentioned before. If the state takes a speed limit sign, puts a sign up there that says no speed limit, a cop can't pull you up for speeding. It says no speed limit. God says no law. He puts up a grace sign, so we can't get punished for breaking the law because we're not in law. I mean, it's really not complicated. Okay, 2 Corinthians 5:19, to wit, that God was in Christ reconciling the world unto himself. So he's basically reconciling the world unto himself, making peace, okay? We're not in law. God's not getting mad. Well, I'm not going to say he's not angry at sin, but... So he's reconciling the world unto himself, not imputing their trespasses unto them. Okay? Nobody's getting punished for sin today. So when New Orleans flooded, that big, I forgot what disaster that was, hurricane or something. It was huge. It was horrible. But God did not punish those people. Or no one of these other places, God. And then I remember a preacher was saying, well, if God don't punish America, he's got to apologize to Sodom and Gomorrah. They were under a totally different dispensation than we are today. And I didn't do anything. Why am I going to be punished? I didn't make some of these laws, right? The little people are the ones that will take the biggest punishment. The people that are up in the governments, they're going to get punished. They're rich. I mean, do you think God operates that way? No, God's perfect in all of his ways. All right, so there's two there. So nobody's being punished for sin, dispensation of grace. They're sinning on credit. Okay? Next. How much time I went over?
Well, you've been streaming for 33 minutes at this moment.
Okay, that's not bad. That ain't bad. Okay. All right. Let's see. I'll pick up where I left off. So, receiving in themselves the penalty of their error, which was meat. Paul speaks of the penalty for homosexual conduct. Homosexuality was within itself a penalty. This speaks of the generally self-destructive nature of sin. It often carries within itself its own penalty. That's what I was saying. That's why I kind of chased that little rabbit there. Sin has its own penalty. Sometimes it is with a disease, like I mentioned, which is a consequence of violating nature's order, and other things like gluttony. Gluttony can be very self-destructive. Being a drunkard can be very self-destructive. I mean, you can think of many other things. It has to be in the order of a sinful activity, though. I mean, sometimes it is with rebellion, resulting in spiritual emptiness and all its ramifications. In this sense, the term gay is wishful thinking. It sends a message that there is something essentially happy and carefree about this lifestyle, which, in this person's opinion, it's not. I'm not going to go and debate and argue with nobody. I'm just not going to do it. I mean, the book says what it says, and what's that saying? The chips fall where they may. Again, this freedom to disobey should be seen as God's judgment, not his kindness. Those who engage in such acts are receiving in themselves the penalty of their error. As further judgment, God gives man over to a reprobate mind, so that things that are disgraceful and sickening are readily accepted and approved. The word reprobate, or you could say debased, means that which has not stood the test. It was used of coins that were below standard and therefore rejected. The idea is that since man did not approve to know God, they came to have an unapproved mind. the human race, and this is so true, the human race put God to the test for the purpose of approving him. Should he meet the specifications which is laid down for a God who would be to its liking, and finding that he did not meet those qualifications, it refused to approve him as the God to be worshipped or have him in its knowledge. So a lot of people want to make a God that they like, but that's not how it works. God doesn't need our approval. God doesn't need us, well, for anything. I mean, if you want to put it point blank, but we sure need him. Okay? So let's get our thinking right. All right, I'm going to finish with this right here. I'm going to go through that list tomorrow, because I don't want to stop right in the middle of this list and explaining what each one is. So I apologize for that. Last night I was just so tired, I just couldn't get motivated. I apologize, because I was going to finish it up. But I'm going to go over that list tomorrow, and we'll discuss each of these words so that you know exactly what is being said here. Let's see. And I think that's where we'll leave off right there. The list in Romans 1:29 through 31 gives concrete examples of the kind of things which are not fitting. Notice how socially acceptable some of these sins are, such as covetousness being jealous of what somebody else has. Envy and pride are included right along with socially unacceptable sins, such as murder and being unloving, that kind of stuff. But yeah, well, I'll go over that list tomorrow. I'm going to stop it right there for tonight. Hope y'all got something out of that. And that's it. But if you got any questions, throw it out there. I hope y'all can. And I guess that's everything I have tonight. Y'all have a pleasant evening, and I will see y'all tomorrow. Love each and every one of you.